From Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to speak as if in morning business.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to thank all of my colleagues who are coming down to speak about this today. Mr. President, families in my home state of Washington are scared, they are frustrated, they are angry, and so am I. New reporting now makes it clear that even after researchers in Seattle raised serious concerns about the possibility of community spread in Washington state and tried to work with federal agencies to conduct testing, the administration didn't work with them to let the public know how serious the coronavirus was. You can be sure I'm going to get to the bottom of this and make sure it will never happen again. I am furious that instead of acting with urgency, they did nothing. Instead of acting with transparency, they kept quiet. Instead of working to keep families safe, they wasted valuable time. And now, in my state, 24 people have died. Over 1,000 across the country are confirmed to be infected. And experts are telling us many more are likely to be ill. I'm hearing from people in my home state of Washington who are worried about their older relatives who are dying alone, worried about having to miss work and being unable to pay their rent, worried about how to keep their children safe at school and how to care for them and make sure they get a nutritious meal if their school is canceled. I'm hearing from small business owners who are worried because no one is now coming through their door and unsure how to support the workers going forward. I'm hearing from communities who are worried about how they protect people who are experiencing homelessness. Now, I've seen a lot in my years as a U.S. Senator, but I'm not exaggerating when I say this is one of the most trying times I've ever seen in my state experience. So I'm absolutely going to be holding this administration accountable for missing so many opportunities to get ahead of this. But I'm also going to be doing everything in my power to make sure we do not miss significant opportunities. We do still have time to slow this down and manage it as best as we can. Our primary goal right now for people in my home state and across the country needs to be slowing the spread of the virus in areas where there are outbreaks. So areas where it has not hit so hard yet have the time to prepare. One of the best ways we can do this is by allowing workers who feel sick or who need to stay home with a child whose school is closed to do so without losing a paycheck or their job. Mr. President, workers and their families want to do the right things for themselves and for their communities. But for many of our workers, restaurant workers, truck drivers, service industry workers, they may not have an option to take a day off without losing their pay or losing their job. And that leaves them with the impossible choice between putting food on their table and paying the bills or the rent, or protecting themselves and others. Mr. President, that is not a choice we should be asking anyone to make in the United States of America in the 21st century. But 32 million people in our country today, or about 1 out of every 4 private sector workers, are faced with this impossible choice every time they get sick. And right now, this choice has unique and potentially dire consequences. Now, I've been advocating for legislation to allow workers to earn paid sick days since 2004, along with my colleague, Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro in the House. Time and again, we have been told no, even though that simple step is critical, as we now see, for public health and gives workers the flexibility they need. In fact, we last reintroduced our bill in March of 2019, and here we are, almost a year later to the day, without the very policies in place that would have now helped millions of our workers and bolstered our resilience in the face of this exact kind of public health care crisis that paid sick days are intended to prevent and to mitigate. We now have another opportunity to get this right. I am here today to ask my colleagues to support our new emergency paid sick days legislation, which would ensure workers have 14 days of paid sick leave immediately in response to public health emergencies like the one that we face today, in addition to allowing workers to gradually earn their 7 days of paid sick leave. It would mean you would not lose a paycheck if, like so many parents in my home state of Washington and across the country are facing, if your child's school has to close in the coming weeks because of this health outbreak. It would mean you would not lose a paycheck if your family member is quarantined and you need to stay home to take care of them so you will not also spread the virus. Or if you cannot go to work because you are sick or your workplace is shut down, as we are seeing in so many places, you won't lose pay. Mr. President, these are the real challenges people are now facing and will continue to face. Our bill would help these workers immediately the minute it becomes law. We had enough delay when it comes to paid sick days. So let's get this done. Let's keep working, as we need to do, on a comprehensive, coordinated response focused squarely on what our families and our workers and our small businesses need in the weeks and months ahead. Democrats on this side have a lot of ideas we're laying out in response to this, including how to make sure those tests are affordable, that we support our most vulnerable communities, and we reckon with this economic impact this crisis is having in our communities and nation. There's a lot we need to do in the weeks and months ahead, but I urge us to start today with this simple, really important issue. So I ask unanimous consent that the HELP Committee be discharged from further consideration of S. 3415, a bill to allow Americans to earn paid sick time so they can address their own health needs and the health needs of their families, that the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration, the bill be read a third time and passed, and the motion to reconsider be considered, made, and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.